Hello, Math 130 students. We are going to pick up on page 9, section 5.4, simplifying a complex fraction. So really, this is just a division of fractions, and you just have to be careful knowing what your numerator and what your denominator is, because it's a fraction within a fraction. So you can think of your numerator as this first fraction that I'm highlighting in yellow, and you can think of your second fraction that I'm highlighting here in green as your denominator. So really, this division sign really means division, so I can rewrite this. So I have my first fraction, which is my 18a to the third over b squared, and this division sign, remember, really represents division. And I have my second fraction as a 6a squared over my b. So now I've distinguished the numerator from the denominator. I rewrite the complex fraction using the division sign. And now it says work out both parts of the division separately if need be. Okay? And change the division of fractions into the multiplication of fractions by flipping the single fraction on the right. So change it into multiplying a fraction. So I really have an 18a to the third over b squared that's being multiplied, and now I do the reciprocal, b over 6a squared. And so here my fractions are going to combine. So I have an 18 times a to the third, and I also have my b up on top. And down the bottom, I have a 6, an a squared, and a b squared. So when I simplify this fraction, if I have 18 being divided by 6, that's going to give me a positive 3. So I have a 3 here. And if I'm dealing with my a's, well, I have a to the 3 and a squared, so that gives me a to the 1 when I subtract. Now if I'm looking at my b's, the b's are bigger on the denominator, so b goes on the denominator, and 2 minus my 1 gives me my 1. So my final answer really is 3a over b. So 3a being divided by b becomes my final answer. Okay, now looking at number 2, I don't have any variables, I just have a bunch of numbers. So again, I'm just going to separate it out. I have my numerator and I have my denominator. So now I'm going to rewrite it. So I have my 5, 6 plus my 1/2 being divided by my 2/3 plus my 1/2. So now when you work out each side separately, then that means I'm going to worry about that numerator, which I wrote in black, and my denominator, which I wrote in green. So here you can just go ahead and use your calculator to say 5, 6 plus my 1/2, and that's going to give you your 4/3. And it's being divided by, and your second fraction, you have a 2/3 that's being added to a 1/2, and that gives you a 7/6, okay? So I added each fraction on the calculator. So now I'm going to copy. I'm going to change division into multiplication. I'm going to rewrite that green fraction by writing its reciprocal. Now, as I go across, I have 4 times 6 and 3 times 7. And of course, 3 goes into 6 twice. So 4 times 2 is 8, and 7 times 1 is 7. So now I have my final answer as 8 over 7. Now for number 3, I still have the same process, except now it's a little bit more involved, as I have some stuff that I'm going to go ahead and factor out. So that first fraction, I'm going to rewrite it. So 12 being divided by my w squared minus 6w plus 9 is being divided by my green fraction, which is my 4w minus 3. So if I were to factor out that first fraction, I can either do the AC method or I can do my guess and check. If I do my AC method, my A times my C would give me a positive 9, and my B is a negative 6, so it'd be a negative 3 and a negative 3. So I would have W minus 3 times W minus 3. And now I change that division into multiplication, and I rewrite it as the reciprocal. So if I were just to rewrite it nice and easy, I have my 12 times my W minus 3. I have my W minus 3 times my W minus 3. And I also have a 4 that I'm going to write out in front. Why not? So now I know that 4 goes into 12 3 times, and I know this W minus 3 can cancel out. So I'm left with a 3 and a W minus 3. And so that ends up becoming my final answer. For number 4, let's go ahead and do this one. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I know the difference between my numerator and my denominator. So I know that my numerator is going to be 3, and I can write it over 1, minus my 3a plus 2. That's being divided by my second green fraction as a 1 over a plus 2 plus my a over 3. So this tells me that I'm going to have to work out each fraction by itself. So in that first fraction, I use black, and my LCD is going to be an a plus 2. So if I have 3 over 1, what's missing from the denominator is that a plus 2. So I need to multiply the bottom as well as the top by what's missing. So I'm just working with that, that first fraction that I wrote in black. So when I distribute, I'm going to have a 3a plus 6 over a plus 2 minus 3a plus 2. So now, combining like terms, I'm going to have a 3a plus 6 minus 3 over a plus 3, which gives us that this is going to be 3a plus 3 over a plus 3. Which in reality, if I factor out, I'll have a 3 and then a plus 1 over a plus 3. Okay. So that just deals with one side of my fraction. So now let's deal with my second bit of the fraction. So here I also need an LCD. So my LCD is going to be 3a plus 2. So that first fraction I have a 1 over a plus 2. So what's missing from that denominator is going to be a 3. So I multiply the bottom by 3, so I multiply the top by 3 as well. Now my next fraction is a over 3. So what's missing from that denominator would be an a plus 2. So multiply the bottom and the top by the a plus 2. So now I'm going to have 3 over 3 times my a plus 2 plus a squared plus 2a over 3a plus 2. So now this is going to give me a squared plus 2a plus 3 over 3a plus 2. And this can simplify. I can factor my numerator as a times a is a squared. 3 and 1 and I still have my 3a plus 2 on the bottom. So let's see, 3 times 1 is definitely 3, but if I wanted a positive 2, I would have needed a positive 3 and a minus a 1, but 3 times a negative 1 is a positive 3. And this is a negative 3. So I guessed it, and I checked it, and this is not the way this factors. In fact, that is about as far as you can get here with factoring. So now I'm going to rewrite this. So I'm going to write it a little bit neater over here. So I have my 3, a plus 1 over a plus 3, and it's being divided by my a squared plus 2a plus 3 over my 3, a plus 2. So now I'm going to rewrite it. And I'm rewriting it so it's multiplication. And I'm going to, write the reciprocal. So 3, a plus 2 is now on top. And I have that a squared plus 2a plus 3 in the bottom. So let's see if anything can cancel out here. And it looks like nothing really cancels. So everything is going to be a part of my final answer. So I have my 3, a plus 1 times, let's think about this. If I have 3 times 3, I can say out in front that I have a 9. There we go. So I still have my a plus 1, and I still have my a plus 2. I'm just going to write that 1 a little bit neater. There we go. So I have my a plus 1 and my a plus 2. And down at the bottom, I have a plus 3. And I also have a squared plus 2a plus 3. That didn't factor, so I need to keep all of those terms. Okay. So I know that this one can be a little bit frustrating because it's a lot of steps to keep track of for one problem. And also you did all of these steps and nothing canceled out. And that's fine. Sometimes that's just the way it's going to work out. Okay, well that is the end of section 5.4. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to email me or the Math Success Center or our tutor. Thank you.